Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. We are back with the Ted Show. You know how much I love my musical guests, especially talented ones who return. I'm super excited to have Kendra Muecke on the show, Kendra and the Bunnies. We're going to talk about when the album writes itself and all the stuff that's going on since the last time we saw her. Hey Kendra, how you doing?
Hey, so good. When was the last time I was on the show? Like over 2 months ago or something.
2, 3 months ago. 2020 seems to all blend together for me.
Yep. It's like, oh, it's already November. This year's just going to continue going on and on.
On and on and on. I know. I'm hoping January 1st is really a new age, a new dawn, a new year. Let's hope.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So for those of you who didn't see Kendra last time, she's super talented. She is a singer, songwriter, performer. She's got a great story. And obviously, she is talented. We try not to bring back on those people who aren't talented. I'm kidding. There's so much talent out there. But for those people who didn't watch the first time, Kendra, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show. It's good to be back. I am a singer, songwriter, writer, actress, published author. I'm also very passionate about a few different things. I love to explore nature. I love to travel. I love to travel to perform. I've published 2 books. I've released 3 albums. I have a Christmas song coming out in about 2 weeks.
No way.
I'm working on my 3rd book. I'm from Houston, Texas. That's always a good thing to say. But I live in Los Angeles, California. And it's a little bit different than Texas, but I think I do like it.
How long have you been in LA?
On and off for about, I guess, like almost 7 years. I took a 2-year soul searching mission to move to Colorado. That was really fruitful. I went there, I found myself, so I came back.
Nice. So you've done all those things that we talk about doing. First of all, the talent, the amount of, you're prolific. 3 albums, 2 books, singer, songwriter. That's a lot, and a Christmas song. So let me ask you about the Christmas song. That's the first time I've ever had a guest on that talked about a Christmas song. Is this something you wrote?
I co-wrote it with 2 songwriters from Nashville.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like and why?
Okay, so this has been kind of like a new dawn, a new adventure for me as a singer-songwriter, because I've written most of my stuff before. So this time I partnered up with Justine Blazer from Nashville. She is a Grammy member. She's one of the people that votes on like who wins the Grammy. She's a Grammy voting member. She recently just signed a publishing deal. She recently just signed with Sony Music Nashville. So a lot of cool stuff going on with her. And I'm like, that's so rad to be working with you, you know? So we started talking about this EP that I have coming up. I'm planning to fly to Nashville in May and record about 4 songs with her in person. But while we were doing like our co-writing songwriting sessions over Zoom, we wrote a Christmas song. And I was like, I should record this. So she handled all of the background tracking, background vocals, the guitar, the sleigh bells, because of course there has to be a couple sleigh bells, and then sent the track to me. Always has to be some sleigh bells so you know it's Christmas. And then she sent the track to me, recorded it here because I've got the equipment and I've got the knowledge and know-how, sent it back. We got it mixed, mastered. We also co-wrote it with Corey Lee Barker out of Nashville as well.
What was that process like? Tell people about the songwriting via Zoom, because we have a lot of artists that come on and it's a challenge, right? You all are social beings usually, or at least from a performance perspective. So what's it like trying to write and be creative on a Zoom call?
Well, it's interesting because there's a different dynamic on being able to know like whose turn it is next. Because like when you're in a room of people, you kind of feel the energy go around and it's like, okay, they speak next and I speak and then I get an idea. So it's kind of a little bit of a different adjustment because they were both in person and then I'm across country over here. So I just had to listen more intently. And I realized I was bringing different things to the table. Like, you know, we were coming up with ideas. What makes us think of Christmas? And I was able to come up with a bunch of different ideas that make me think of Christmas. But yeah, it was just kind of like an adjustment of knowing when the ball was in my court, I guess I'd say.
I love it though, because I think it opens up a whole creative channel that most people before the pandemic wouldn't have done. Like, you're used to writing in person.
Yeah.
You're used to being in a room where those creative juices, and now you had to kind of adapt to a different kind of room.
Right. But it's cool though, because one silver lining of this whole experience is the fact that I'm collaborating with people across the country, because you know, in the middle of the day when I'm in LA, you know, before it might have been like, hey, I want to come co-write with you in Nashville, and then we'd set a time like I am going to do in May, but then we just look forward to May. But now it's like, okay, you'll be here in May, but we'll Zoom call before. So it's like the ongoing projects all the time. I've even met some people internationally for this event I did called the We Are One benefit event. Actually, we're having a second episode in December. Basically, it's kind of like my charity type thing that I do, where it's I bring artists together to raise awareness for a specific group or cause or something like that. So the first episode, it's been really fun. The first episode was in June. It was in response to some of the social justice things going on. We raised money for the NAACP, the ACLU. And then this time we're doing another episode. We're going to be raising awareness and money for the National Independent Venue Association, because venues are really, like, artists, you know, we're adapting, but the venues, the brick and mortar clubs where we really kind of like get our first times to shine, we want them to be around in the next couple months whenever the heck we get back out there.
It's heartbreaking, right? To see them. I think people, if you have a brick and mortar, guys, you don't understand. It's one thing to be an artist. You're kind of flexible and portable in a way, but when you have a brick and mortar, you're not. And so the venues, so many of the venues, if you think about the movie theaters, then think about the independent venue owners, they are just suffering tremendously, because artists like Kendra can't go to them, or even if they want to, people don't show up like they used to.
Right. One thing that has been happening, and we've kind of rolled that back in Los Angeles and I think a few other states recently, but a couple months ago when we were like out of limbo for a little bit, we were having music outdoor at venues. So if the venues were able to, if they had a kitchen and they could supply food, then they were seen as a restaurant. So we were playing, like, I did some sidewalk shows, you know, in front of the bar, in front of the venue. But now we're back to live streams.
Well, yeah. See, we're in Florida.
Yeah.
So we have no restrictions at this particular moment in time. But I think what we're seeing is people are still, even though there are no restrictions, they're still feeling like maybe they shouldn't step out. So some concerts are being well attended and some not. I think people are just trying to figure out how to maneuver through this whole new world. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, because we've had questions on it before we went live. Tell us about the bunnies. Where I know you shared this last time, but it's people ask, they want to know, Kendra and the bunnies, what does this mean and what is this related to?
Well, it's my band name, but I also utilize it when I perform as a solo musician. So people are like, where are the bunnies? So when I'm performing solo, I'm like, well, you're the bunnies. The listeners are the bunnies. I've got plenty of personalities. Those are the bunnies. And then I say, like, before I start, if I'm doing like a acoustic show, you know, I'll be like, hey, you guys, I'm so sorry. I just got a text from the White Rabbit and he's going to be late. And Bugs Bunny called last night, and even though he rented a car and he's using GPS, he still took a left at Albuquerque.
Fantastic.
So I do kind of that whole thing, and then of course Roger Rabbit. We don't know what's going on with him. I do that kind of thing. But the inspiration comes from the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. You know, following your sense of discovery and exploring yourself and stuff like that. Also, White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane is probably one of the most influential songs on my style. just in general.
Yes.
Then on the other hand, there's, I don't know, I've just been going by the name Kendra Bunny for a while. That started, oh gosh, that started when there was that show, The Girls Next Door, with Hugh Hefner and like the Playboy Bunnies. There was
I remember it.
Show named Kendra. So that's when I started going by Kendra Bunny.
I love the history behind that. You know, people they love to know that, because then they're like, oh, I understand where she's coming from now.
Yeah.
All right. So you chose When the Album Writes Itself. I said to my wife when I saw that title, album, I'm so glad to see that somebody her age still calls it that. So tell me what that title means. What is that about?
So the album writes itself. Wow. It's kind of a mystical type like moment. And I've run into this while writing poetry, which soon became writing lyrics, you know. I run into this when I write, where I'll just have this kind of like moment where I'm like, here's a few different examples. For instance, I had this one moment about 3 weeks ago, maybe like a month ago or something, when I was, I don't know, pacing around my kitchen or something. And I was like, I'm about to have a lot of anxiety. I just felt the anxiety. And I was like, this is going to be gruesome. But what I can do is sit down and write. So I sat down and just wrote something from start to finish. It was one of those songs that didn't really have any gaps in between. It was just like, oh, this is next word. Here's the next word. There's the next word. There it is. Here are the chords. Boom, it's done. And that stemmed from a feeling of, you know, anxiety or a feeling of restlessness or something like that. So the song wrote itself, but I had to be inspired enough to be like, okay, this is going to be a songwriting opportunity.
Correct. It's hard when you're in the throes of that anxiety, stress, but the fact that the music kind of overtook, or your lyrics or your talent in writing overtook, is a great sign. I think a lot of people, that's your outlet. That's one of your outlets, I imagine. I think people need to figure out what their outlet is. Maybe the album doesn't write itself, but your journal does, or your business plan, or whatever it is. You've got to figure out how to channel that stress, anxiety into something positive, because it's real easy to just sit there and wallow in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing is that when we start to begin just thinking of prosperous thoughts and thinking of, you know, things happening and things coming together, it gets us out of that place of wallowing, and then things start to come together. It's like, oh wow, this is pretty cool.
It's amazing when you focus on the positive rather than the negative, how far you can go. It's just that we're human beings, and so it's easy for us to focus on the circumstances that are going on around us rather than, you know, our heart, our soul, our drive, our passion. I'm not saying it's easy, guys, because it's not. When you're in the throes of anxiety, I've been there, we all have, it's not easy to just try to refocus. Sometimes you just want to wallow in it and live in it. But the challenge is, the good thing is to try to figure out how to come out of it and not make it a month-long or week-long or year-long struggle.
Yeah. Well, like sometimes, because as an artist, I deal with this type of stuff for years. And that's why God gave me these traits, you know, so I can write about, I don't know, staring at the wall for 5 hours of contemplating existence. But other times, if it's just too much, my mind is just, it's like, I grew up playing softball, so I'll go to the batting cages here in LA and just whack a couple swings.
Nice.
And get that, whatever it is, literally like a punching bag, you know?
Out of your system. Yes, you're hit. Sometimes that physical, that's why they have, like, I don't know about, I'm sure in LA they have this, but Orlando just got its first thing where you go take the hammer and beat the heck out of the car or the wall. There's this whole movement of that where you can pay to go and just beat the crap out of something inanimate.
What?
And so you think about the energy that gets released there, the frustration, the anger, the disappointment. So if you can channel that into something, that's one way. You writing your music is another way, and everybody's got their own way. Speaking of your music, tell us, I always love you to perform. So tell us what you're going to sing for us right now.
I do want to follow up just one thing you said.
Please, please.
That would be so funny to have like as a first date place to go, because it's obviously probably going to have some sort of food or drink element. So it's like, hey, let's meet for an after dinner drink. Where do you want to go? Well, I thought we'd just go grab some hammers and like break some stuff.
Listen, it is sold, like the place. People have been dying for it to open.
Yeah.
That's, people want some sort of release. We're all in this 2020 mode.
Yeah.
And so that sounds like a fun way to get rid of all of this crazy energy that we've been storing up. And I guarantee you there's going to be more of them coming up all over the place, because apparently it's very cathartic.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really, really awesome. I've heard of axe throwing, but I don't just think.
Oh yeah, we have that here too. We have like 3 of them, 2 or 3 of them. It's crazy. That's another interesting first date choice.
Right. It leads to some murder mystery.
God only knows.
Yeah.
All right, so back to you and your music. Tell us.
Right on. Okay, so the song that I think I'm going to do first is titled Nyko Nyko. That's Nyko Nyko. I was inspired to write this song after getting back from a trip to record at a record label in New York City. I saw this license plate that said NYKO. I was like, New York Knockout. That's an amazing acronym. That's how I felt performing while I was there. You know? And then also just to be a little bit boastful, this song placed on the top 10 digital radio, on their digital radio charts. I was at number 8, and I was in between Dua Lipa and Miley Cyrus. Kendra and the Bunny.
Ooh, that's amazing. That you should be. That's not even boastful. That's just celebrating, is what I call it. You're celebrating that victory. I love that.
Yeah, really blessed.
All right, I'm gonna move my head out of the way, and we're just gonna focus on Kendra Muecke, Kendra and the Bunnies.
And the Bunnies. All right, this song is titled Nyko Nyko.
Tops drop, shook zone like the type you see smiling round town. She my girl, draw a circle round the world, or a straight baller. Headed to Chinatown, gotta get some fresh water. The feet to my foster, she's my Nyko Nyko, my New York Nagari, center being walking lively. My Nyko Nyko, my New York Nagari. Won't need to shout, you'll know who I'm talking about. Ooh ah, ooh ah. Come over here, little lady. Trapezing through the season, instrumentation man wheezing, that fresh death, bass happy G clef. I'm 33 out of 4, playing blues while you swing open the barn door. Shook up on the shore, singing sound, it's frantic. Sound, it's my now. Gotta make it somehow. 'Cause she's my Nico, my New York Night into being, walking lively. My Nico, my New York Night, won't need to shout, you'll know who I'm talking about. Come over here, little lady. Love is real, not fade away. You know I had to say it this way. My blue jean baby, my LA lady, my Nico, my New York night into being, walking lively. My Nico, my New York night, won't need to shout, you know who I'm talking about. Come over here, little lady. My blue jean baby, my LA lady. Love is real, not fade away. My blue jean baby, my LA lady. This love is real, not fade away.
I loved it. All right, so I have many questions.
Yeah.
What do you feel when you sing it? And then I have a question about the lyrics. What do you when you're singing that? You could see that you smiled. You smiled in a whole bunch of places, and I know artists are taught to do that, but that was a natural smile. What were you thinking? What's on your mind when you sing that song?
Artists are taught to do that because there's been some songs.
Absolutely. Listen, I stare at the camera. Sometimes I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at that crazy little hole in the computer and smiling. So taught to be on camera.
Right.
I'm not an artist, but you were smiling. That was giving you were into the song. What were you feeling?
Well, you know, I have a lot of history with the song. Of course, it stems from, you know, that trip I took to New York City was in October of last year. And that was kind of a monumental moment for me as a singer-songwriter. So just like stemming off of that strength, and I feel like being in the right place at the right time and having that drive and all that inspiration and hard work is where it stems from. And then, yeah, kind of being nostalgic on that as I sing it and just thinking about where I am now, everything that's happened in this year in my career, and just reminiscing and enjoying the moment.
I loved it. You could see you lit up a couple of times. I mean, as you were performing, you were obviously emotionally into it.
Yeah.
But I loved seeing that. All right, come over here, little lady. Did somebody say that to you? Where does that line come from? I was fascinated because you used it several times, and I thought, did she experience that?
I'm sure I have, but right? No, the line actually stems from like some bluegrass songs. It reminds me of my really, really good friend, one of my best friends. Her name is Chelsea. She lives in Colorado. I feel like she would just say that to me, or there's this one bluegrass song that she would play that says, "Come on over here, little lady, let's dance." So I think I wrote that into the song kind of as like a best friend inside joke, but it fits really perfectly for blues music.
It was perfect. No, I thought everything about the song. I loved it. It was really,
Thanks.
really good. All right,
Thanks.
what are you going to close out the show with? Tell us.
Ooh, good question. I think I'm going to do the song Timely Vision. It's from my second album. That's on Spotify, Apple Music, all of those good places. Just look up Kendra and the Bunnies. It's a heartfelt song, and I think it's pretty accurate for this year.
Timely Vision.
Yep.
Here we go.
Please, God, let there be something at the end, something at the end of this tunnel. Please, God, let there be something at the end, waiting for me. I run to stomach another collapsement of time, singing, please God, let there be something in the end, waiting for me. And yet, when's the best time to grasp enough conditional love to put in my knapsack and walk back home? It's now, it's now, it's always been now. I don't want to wait, it's already summer. It's already summer. Focus folds clear across the seam. It's not often you see a sunset like that. To waste another day on footsteps toward you, I sigh in achievement. Oh, oh, I sigh often. Oh Lord, oh God, I'm falling apart. I can sense my toes getting stronger. They want to climb up these trees and see what you see, but my head is heavy and my willpower's bleaker. There were days we used to play till dawn, and now we honor life, singing, please God, let there be a senseless light, one I can charm me up with and get real bright, and get real bright. It'll be alright. You know it's already summer.
Wow, that was like, I really liked that performance.
So good.
Thank you.
You know, I almost didn't click over because I was paying attention. I was
That's
really
so
good.
cool. Yeah.
A lot of you're into it, and I love the words. I think that when a performer also writes their music or is part of that process, you emote in a different way when you're performing because you can feel everything that's going on. Like I could sing a song that I didn't write, but if I wrote it and those are my words and my emotions, or at least part of it is, I think that just makes the performance so much better. You closed your eyes a lot during that. You could tell you were feeling it. I don't know. I thought it was excellent. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks. Awesome. It's interesting, like being so much in the song, sometimes it's like I was like sail away. Yeah. So when you said you almost forgot to click over, I've been there before where I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm literally, that's one of the reasons why I don't show myself is I'm moving. I have my eyes closed too. Yeah. And I love to watch an artist do the same thing, and you do that. All right. Kendra Muecke, what is the best way for them to reach out to you to find out more about you and to get your music?
Cool. Thanks so much for having me on the show, Ted.
Always a blessing. Always.
Always awesome. So let's see. My music is Kendra and the Bunnies. That's on all streaming platforms, including Pandora, Bandcamp, if you want to directly download some of my music. I've got like 3 albums and multiple remixes and singles and stuff like that. I also have books available, books of poetry available. Those are on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as on my website. You can just Google or type in Kendra Muecke on Amazon, Barnes & Noble to find those. On Facebook, I'm Kendra and the Bunnies Music. And on Instagram and Twitter, I'm pretty active on both of those. I'm Ken Bunny, KenBunny. That's me.
You're amazing. All right, Kendra Muecke, Kendra and the Bunnies, Ken Bunny. We're going to find you at some point. I know it. You guys go out and support our artists. This is the way that they get their message out, their music out. So we want everyone to go and check it out. Kendra, you're amazing. Have a beautiful, wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Ted. You too. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Hope you come back soon. You guys go out and support Kendra. Listen to her talent. That's some amazing stuff. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Take care.